There's one question from Rebecca G. Do any of you think simply leveling the playing field socially and otherwise would bring about equality in America? So I would say that you can't really level the playing field socially because that would involve undoing the just generations and generations of social conditioning that people indoctrination in terms of racism that people have been dealt to them. But they have done studies that show that black and brown kids who start with the same basic, generational wealth, same basic income, do just as well as their white counterparts. Like that is not, there is no sort of difference when you put black and white kids within like the same material reality. So we say a white family in the suburbs and a black family in the suburbs, and they both have the same amount of money in the bank. They have the same, sort of structured life. They pretty much have the exact same outcome in terms of school and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I think that largely we have to level the playing field economically first. And part of the way we do that is leveling it socially. Part of the way we do that is integrating society in a meaningful way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things I talk about it almost any time Brandon and I sit down is one of the phenomena that we saw during this political cycle is the phenomena of economics not being a black issue, which to me was absolutely galling, and I'm still upset about it. I'm absolutely still upset about it. There's no way in the world we can say that economics and social conditions are not black issues. Now, not to answer the question, but to add to what Brandon said, I think it goes. I think the key is economics. I think there's really no way around that because money is power in this country, right? You can't. Go ahead, Brandon.
To you real quick. So
go ahead.
The reason why economics is not a black issue to the political elite is because the political elite are rich.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rich. So economics is not an issue to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Not an issue to. It is not an issue to economic plight of black people. Is not their main issue, because and this goes back to what I said earlier. Their definition of racism. So their ideological definition of racism is a result of the material reality they live within. So if you ask a rich black person what the problem with blackness is, what's the problem with what racism is in society, they are simply going to point to those small discrepancies in representation. They're going to point to the fact that if they turn on the TV, they don't see enough black people. They'll point to the fact that if they go to the mall, they'll be followed. They'll point to the fact that certain X, Y, and Z occurs, that they got passed down for a promotion at the law firm. Which, yeah, that is racism. Those outcomes, those phenomena that I've just described are a result of the same structural racism. But I would argue, and this is not to rank oppression, although I'm going to rank oppression because you can't. Here's the thing: you can rank oppression. People say you shouldn't rank oppression. What they're saying is that I recognize that the oppression I am under is not the lowest, so I don't want to, but in reality, what they're saying is that all oppression is born from the same core of racism. But we have to learn what we should be tackling first, and also learn that if we simply a lot of times if we simply tackle the sort of the maldistribution of resources that occurs under economic racism, that the sort of social aspects of it can also be tackled much quicker. They will be tackled as a byproduct. Like if you reinvest in the black community, if you give black people, or not if black people are given the opportunity to better themselves economically, you'll see more black TV shows. You'll see more black-owned law firms.
Because we've always done that, and because that's what we do. If we're given the opportunity, we take it and run with it. No one on this planet can say we don't. You can look around and at any area where the playing field, quote unquote, was leveled, whether it be sports, whether it be entertainment, we take the ball and we run with it, and we change the game oftentimes. Right. So the whole notion of our laziness, the whole notion of us not being able to apply ourselves, right? The whole notion of us not being able to commit, right? Our entire sports entertainment universe in our country is dominated by Black people because we're willing to commit. We're smart enough to handle these things. We're strong enough to deal with these things. All these things are possible if the opportunities are available. And that opportunity gap is huge. Now, back to answering the question. Okay, the issue for me, this is Michael Redwine's standpoint. This is not something you're going to find in the textbook. You may find in the textbook, because just it wouldn't be one I read. All right, is that you're going to have to, in order to fix things socially, as Brandon said, you're going to have to fix them economically, because that's the foundation of it, right? It's a foundation of economics. It's a foundation socially, which includes on the social side that includes education, right? And we have to change our policy, right? We have to have policy that impacts people for involving themselves in racist activities, right? So if we have a law in the books that says that you must allow everyone to come in your restaurant and partake in your eats equally as everyone else, if there is no negative impact on not following that law, it's not a law, right? There has to be an impact, right? So if there is a group of people who wants to kill a bunch of Black people or a bunch of white people or a bunch of anybody, right? If there is no robust enforcement measures in place to enforce those laws, they don't matter, right? So we need to fix the problems. We need a economic uplift. At this point, we're taking whatever form it comes. A $15 minimum wage would be a great start, right? If we can get the minimum wage up, if we can improve our education system, if we can improve loans to at-risk communities, improve the schools in at-risk communities. I mean, there is more jobs, as in Job Corps, more opportunities for Job Corps, infrastructure, which would be a huge boom for jobs in the country and for small business. There is a plethora of things that we can do to level the playing field, but primarily beyond the economic, along with the economic piece, it has to be a robust policy initiative with a very robust enforcement structure, so everyone knows what the cost is of not doing these things. Right? I'm not saying we need to go we need to go, blow up your place if you don't want to let Black people in or you don't want to let brown people in. What I'm saying is we need to have a fair system in place with a robust enforcement structure. And I think it's not going to happen overnight. Right? We're going to have to, it's going to take time, right? And there's going to be some pushback. There's going to be a whole lot of pushback, because there always is when it comes to change, no matter what kind of change that is.